We talk about what makes amazing racing happen. And last time out, we got that exactly how we wanted to. But for this next circuit that we head to, we head a little bit out of the way from where we often tend to find. We are pretty much splitting ourselves between Zaragoza, Valencia, and Barcelona here today because this is Motorland Aragon, your second round of the championship, and a track which is a little bit newer in the pantheon of racing and sim racing circuits, but still, we can be vintage. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the conversation. My name is Jake Sperry, and alongside me for today's action, as ever, is Craig King. With Daniel Costello in the director's chair, assisted by Christian Deploy, it's Dougie Beard, who has provided the cameras here for us at the Global SimRacing Channel. But after great results from the likes of Jacob Reed and Aldrius Valentias, how will you jump back into perspective? To those who don't follow MotoGP very closely, this is a circuit that's more of a staple with two wheels rather than four, but there's still great racing to be had. Let's get a little bit of an understanding with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Motorland Aragon. About an hour and a half west of the Mediterranean coast, this scenic but dusty course is a more recent addition to the Spanish motorsports landscape. Built to replace a dangerous street circuit in the nearby town, it's become a hub of modern racing for the country. Motorcycles are its most famous draw, but it does see sports cars and lower-level open-wheelers visit frequently. Plus, its warm climate makes it ideal for winter testing. Its 7 layouts range between 1.5 to just over 3 miles with 12 to 18 turns. Its most iconic feature is no doubt the towering wall between turns 7 and 13 that accentuate the dramatic elevation changes. However, the difficult Sacacorchos chicane easily has the greatest drop over the shortest period. Reminiscent of Laguna Seca's corkscrew, this right-left flick leads onto a pretty long acceleration zone, even in the GP layout, so it'll be important to get that exit right. Expect most passes into turn 1 are down at the hairpin of 16. But for those who haven't gotten enough of high-speed sweepers, the motorcycle and outer layouts include one final blast uphill and into a tricky late apex. Technical and picturesque, Aragon offers up a little bit of everything and is a versatile facility. It's easy to see why it was quickly embraced by both Spanish fans and race fans worldwide.
It's surprisingly technical here, this Motorland Aragon circuit. 5.07 kilometers, 3.15 miles and 17 turns worth of great racing. The keys to this motorcycle Grand Prix layout that we're working with here today, though, surely is going to be the run out of the Sacacorchos corner of turn number 9 through Marc Marquez and 10, and then how good you launch out to 15 for the big overtaking zones of 16 and 1.
Yeah, and of course, one thing that's going to be very interesting today, Jake, is last time we came here for Vintage, they were the outer layout. So that chicane or that little complex at 12 to 15, that wasn't there. It was a straight line, and it really helped the prototypes out there for the Nissans. It really helped as well just for some overtaking moves in those final corners. Moto layout does allow to have some really good moves in those final corners, but to get there, you've got to navigate that early part of the track through 1 to down to 6. Tight corners, slow corners, lots of places to make moves, but you've got to be careful not to make the undercut there. You cut in too much, anti-cut curves, which the motorbikes don't use, so they're there for the vehicles today, and you don't really want to be running into them.
No, you absolutely don't. And of course, when it comes to anti-cut curbing, it's there to protect the circuit in the real world. Not so much here in iRacing, but it is very much a huge point of contention as we get things situated. Let's talk, though, about what has happened over the course of this season, especially with what has gone on in GTP. Now, it's going to be very much a case of what happened last time out. Jacob Reed picking up the win over Jack Wells and Togo Hesada, with Manuel Verdeja in 4th position, Ivan Platon in 5th. Antti Lepisto maybe a little bit down the order in 6th, ahead of Timothy Reed and Marco Keller, with Laust Olsen in 9th and Diego Mastretta 10th, and already over half the points behind in 13th place, but a long way to go in this 12-round series. GTO will also be an interesting affair as your GTP champion has moved and switched.
Yeah, Valentias moved over to the GTO. Still has Javier Del Olmo. He's gone back to the GTOs. And you can see he did not have a good time out last time in 8th. He was 7th overall in the race, but you see that Alfonso Fernandez, 2 splits last week. He won the GTOs in the 2nd split. He gets the honor of being in that top 10, as does Forvin Pollock and Doug Cloud, both tied on 12 points. Very interesting to see what they can do. But one name at the top, Jake, he has been undefeated in all but one race in the last 2 seasons, and that was because he crashed out on the green flag.
Well, that's very much the case of looking at Aldris Valentias. He is part of the 9K iRacing club. He is someone that you look at and say he is the gold standard of classics, and pretty much he is going to be one to keep an eye out on here today. But when it comes to racing around here in this series, it's a case of what do you have to battle with today. It's 40 minutes worth of racing action here today in round 2 of 12 in your IMSA Vintage series. They've all got open setups, so they've slightly tweaked and tuned the car slightly differently for maybe can they get a bit of an advantage here or there. There are no spare cars available, so they are going to have to try and make sure that they keep themselves in play and survive. There's a lot of runoff area around this track, and because we are in an official server here in iRacing, a drive-through penalty comes through at 17 instant points, and disqualification finds itself at 25 incidents overall. For reference, you crash the car into someone else, that's 4 of them, so obviously you got to play your cards right in a race like this. Qualifying has currently got itself underway. They've got the 8 minutes or 2 laps to set in order to put themselves on top. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, through January 5th, we have got your iRacing holiday sale, 50% off of all brand new memberships by heading to iracing.com/holiday-sale. And I tell you what, give the gift of sim racing this Christmas to anybody you possibly can. Craig? It's qualifying, and it means now that the best times need to be found on the board as we focus on the run going in towards the Sacacorcos corner and through Marc Marquez.
Yeah, and look how you go down the hill. Down they go this straight. For the GTOs, they will have to do a little tap of the brake, but then hard in to turn 12. And a reminder, you miss that corner, you are probably going to end your race. There is a barrier so far down, you can't turn around in time. Hard they go through 14 into 15 and then back on this long straight. This straight known for practicing for the LMP1s back in the Le Mans days. One of the longest straights in Europe and the world when it comes to straight. Still long with this chicane as you just go to see Agadia coming down hard on. And this is the motorbike final corner we see. Lots of room and lots of speed.
Yeah, you need to carry it here, does Raul Rosses, heading towards the final line. Jacob Reed, a 31.3 is good enough to be half a second clear. Rosses goes into fourth position with a 32 flat with his lap time, so a very, very fast run. Aldris Valentias, car number 1, hasn't yet set a representative lap time. This is first flyer, Noel Lumberg, is the benchmark out there on a 49.2. Andreas Schuster has just gone second quickest and in towards that ferocious final corner at just 135 kilometers an hour, rejoining back up with the circuit, trying to put the power down as early as possible. And Valentias heads to the line. It's a 49.7. It's good enough for 4th fastest, but he's got one more lap to try and find it. Joran van Hicks has moved up into 2nd.
Yeah, great time from Lundberg. He's really put the work in this season, the last couple seasons to get going. There's that anti-cut curve. Not really going to matter with these GTOs out there today, but just look at the steering. Look at the way he's having to fight through these corners. Nice and slow. Get the throttle down. Use all 4 wheels of this Audi. It's a legendary rally car for a reason, and now he gets down to start that moment. We'll probably get a good look here as he comes out of these corners down into Marc Marquez in a moment, just to show you what they have to do compared to having downforce in the GTPs. But here, there's going to be a lot of throttle modulation down here.
Theo Schleray going quickest by a comfortable 0.4 of a second. Wonderful qualifying effort from him out there in the earliest stage that he can. He's got a minute left to try and put it together, but in the early stage of the season, a time like that is a huge benchmark, and Valentias will need to find upwards of nearly a second if he wants to try and find that improvement. Down the hill now, through 14 and in towards turn 15, trying to get right over to the right-hand side of the circuit. 95 kilometers an hour. Then back on the power once again and attacking down the hill, looking towards that final 2 corners. Out on track, they go over 260 kilometers an hour along this run before hitting the brakes and finding the point of which the limit of grip is there. Is there enough for Valentias to move up towards pole position? A 48.8 is what he's got to beat. It's a 49.2. He'll go second row.
That's probably one of the worst qualifying runs he has had in the last couple of seasons in this GTO. Still something here for Noel Lundberg to try and see what he can do. But that is it. Unfortunately, the time is over. Time for talking's over.
Time for talking's over. Time for action starts now, and it's car 2 who's got the overall pole position in your GTP field. It is Jacob Reed, the Worcesterman, who will be on the front of the grid with Jack Wells alongside for company on a 131.7. Ferran Grau will have Togo Hisada there in 4th position with Raul Roses Guardia in 5th and Arto Ihamaki in 6th position. It then follows a second finish driver in Antti Lepisto, 7th, maybe a little bit down the order, with Seamus Power in 8th place. Timothy Reed will start from 9th place with Henning Schwebig rounding out your top 10 of the field. I'll take you through all of what GTP is going on right now with Ilka Cosisalo in 11th and Logan Edwards in 12th as Diego Mistretta and Matteo Johnson find themselves 13th and 14th. It's then Cody Massey and Davide Riccardi who is there in 16th position. Matthew Cochran and Kelton Armstrong make up 17th and 18th. Esteban Moteros is 19th, and not setting a time was Hamilton Barrera Ruiz. He will go from 20th along with Antonio Alvarez and Lance Simon, who is there in that final position out there. Lance Simon unable to put his times. GTO, a much, much more interesting affair.
Yeah, we talked about it. We saw it. Theo Chalet will be pole position with Noel Lundberg with him on the front row. Then it's Andres Valentias in a surprising P3 with Johan Van Hicks in 4th. And Andreas Schuster will be 5th with Jack David Spickett making his return in 6th. With Josh Brain, Javier Del Olmo behind him on row 4. Doug Cloud and Sam Skogo will be at the final row in the top 10. As we get to the 11th, it will be a name we haven't seen for a while. Ian Haycox comes back. He is in 11th. Beside him will be Fabian Jungbluf in 12th, with Shady Ahmad in that unlucky 13. Forban Paulik will be 14th. And then as we keep on going down, Martin Krajcik will be 15th. Emilio Dicciari will take 16th, with Jamie Hamill-Smith in 17th. Arnold Koch will be 18th. Evan Pasquini will be 19th as they start to roll in. Brandon White will be the 20th. Kurt Howell Jensen will be 21st. The last of the time qualifiers in the 25-car grid for the Audis will be Martin Enrique Revet.
Yeah, and so those who didn't set a time would be Roman Bello, Krista Johansson, and Luis Carlos Perez, who will be down near the back. Sometimes when you get a track like this, the Spaniards do like to bring themselves out in force and run at this circuit. There was a time, a long time, where there wasn't even a single Spanish circuit out there in iRacing, and it's one that has been so well welcomed by one of the biggest communities of sim racers out there in the world, the Spanish community, and we love to see them out there. But these 40 minutes, I think, are going to be really telling, because there is a lot of medium speed corner out there around this circuit, Craig, and so when you're going to find getting into these corners, there's going to be a lot of lunging, I think, down the inside from the GTPs to try and scrabble by the GTOs.
There's going to be a lot of excuse me's coming from those GTPs through some of these corners. You can see they're wide enough to go side by side, but are they tight enough to go side by side? And it is going to be very tough here, because remember, Audis, they usually have one line. They've got to point their nose in and then just go where the corner goes. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens on that first run through the traffic, because if you know IMSA Vintage, you know that these GTOs will stay together like a pack of wolves, and they won't make a single break up until it gets to the end.
Yeah, we've got a few drivers then who are really missing out. Mickey Frieson's one of them who's sad to be missing us this week, or missing the racing action this week, but there's a reason why drop rounds exist, and that is so that you can pick your points up a little bit later on over the course of the season. Jacob Reed then with control of the field, Jack Wells alongside for company, and the likes of Ferran Grau and Togo Hesada are two drivers that you look at and you say on paper, Ferran Grau underrates his performance by his iRating. He's the number 15 seed in this race of all drivers out there, but he drives like a top 5 driver.
Drives like a top 5 driver. He has been showing it, and his teammate Aitor Sintes Galindo not here today either. And you've got to feel that he would have loved this track today as well. So his teammate there, Ferran Grau, going to be flying the flag for him as well out there. Going to be interesting to see what they do as well, Jake. One thing we've not picked up on, 23 Celsius, 74 Fahrenheit. That's the track temp. It's early morning here at the track. A colder track temp will help them with that grip. They won't have to worry too much about tire wear, but that is a key factor with so many hard braking corners here and mid-speed corners, just keeping the tires alive.
It's going to be mostly cloudy for the entirety of the race. The wind in from the west may be pivoting towards the southwest. And you can already see the disparity between the GTO and the GTP field, the room being given right now. The questions are there to be asked. The Worcesterman, who is in British racing green colours on the left-hand side, Jacob Reed, will look around at the likes of Jack Wells and say, what can I do? You look at Theo Schleray and what he's been able to do. Lundberg, Valentias, Van Hicks, you got Schuster who's there as well. Those are some fantastic drivers you want to keep in mind, as well as JDS, Jack David Spickett. But the iRacing Porsche first safety car is due to die, left into the pits in what is an anti-clockwise circuit. Pace in control of car number 2, and we'll put 40 minutes on the clock. Green flag in the air, and we are underway. A lovely launch off of the front from Jacob Reed. Side by side will find itself immediately. Grau down the inside of Jack Wells. Great start though from the middle from Antti Lepisto. He's got a mega launch.
Mega launch, a little bit of chaos at the back of the GTO, but chaos at the front as well. Lundberg did not get a good launch, and Valentias straight away said, thank you very much, I'm going to take P2. He's going to lead them on. Drivers making move. Arno Carter already 4 places up. Milo Dechari already 4 places up. We've had Fabian Jungblöf having a moment in the background, but you're looking right here at Noah Lundberg, not the start he wanted.
No, Lundberg didn't quite get what he wanted, and as such, 1 position gone, not the end of the world. There are places to get those back. On with Seamus Power, now through the Kakakorkush corner, and now heading over towards that next section of road, that all-important run through Marc Marquez, over towards turn 12. You can see how much of the circuit they're using, and a change for the race lead overall as Valentias sights his way, battling with Theo Schleray for the race lead in GTO. Schleray on the inside line, hoping to get his car into play, and the Frenchman, not much that he can do about that. Valentias does not like being deprived of the race lead. That's a bit lungeful on the outside into the gravel. Schleray's there, Lundberg, gone!
Lundberg, I think Lundberg took too much speed. The rear was already going. That was not Schleray hitting him. And all of a sudden, Andreas Schuster. And it has been a little bit of bumping already to start the race. Shady Ahmad already in the pits as well. Schleray has not had a good start to this. On board with Sam Skogo as well. He's having a good start as well, mind you. He's having the start he wanted. But if you look at the front, already now a second and a half ahead is Valentias. Jack David Spickett now looking to make more moves. It's been a little bit hectic to start this GTO race.
It has the Lotus, former Lotus 79 champion, Jack David Spickett, and it continues on here in this group. You start looking around at who's going to be in a bit of trouble. Schleray trying to get down the inside of Andreas Schuster for position. He's going to overcook it by 1.5 miles. There goes 2 more places. Now as he puts the power on, there goes the third as JDS flies by. Van Hicks finds himself through now up into 3rd position. A manic start in GTO as there goes Arnold Cook, hoping that he can find himself a little bit of a place to jump up forward. That's Romain Bello, who didn't set a time in qualifying, and Kurt Hau Jensen.
Yeah, we're going to have a quick look at this replay because this actually went on afterwards. Noah Lundberg, he goes for this move. He's taking a bit too much speed. On the throttle straight away, looks like the rear's gone.
Oh.
He's put so much force. He bounces back out. He collects two. There's Javier Del Olmo. He doesn't know where to go. He's got nowhere to go. And that is a former champion caught out there. That is why qualifying is so important out here today.
And that is why we were talking so much about the chicane. Why that was going to play a pivotal part in today's racing action and why it already has done in what is just the early stages of this. So the Saka Caucus to Marc Marquez at turn 12 has found itself its first victim. Jacob Reed with the fastest lap. He's being shadowed by Farron Grau as Romain Bello continues on his battle with Kurt Hau Jensen. Now moving over the top of the crest, and it's a very hefty downhill from here. Watch out behind, because Arnold Cook's trying to find a way through, and so too is Martin Krejcik.
Yeah, I think Arnold got a little bit caught up there. Downhill, you've got to be careful with your braking. And unfortunately, I think he just took a little bit too much down the braking. So now side by side, he will go with Martin Krejcik. And we're not going to go free wide. I think that it's just going to be Fabian Youngblood just trying to get a position. He will indeed. He's going to try and split it here. He takes Arnold. Arnold's down 2 positions. He will try and fight this back. A good fight going. Can't have it. But I'll tell you what, Fabian Youngblood's got a bit of speed here. Be surprised in that red car if he goes to make another move here.
Well, here goes Romain Bello down to the inside, looking for yet another one out there. Kurt Hau Jensen, big wide line, going through turn 2 and trying to set it up then through the sweeping corners to start the lap. You're looking for the big braking zone. It's about turn 5 where you find it here as you now look to try and get the pivot down to the inside. It's not quite there, so they will just have to stay in line as things stack on up. It's a little bit more spread, so to speak, a little bit more even out there, but look at that! Round the outside of Krejcik, maybe, is going to be where the move happens, and there it is. Jacob Reed, another fast lap, but the moves are flying. You've got an Audi, it's an Ismo.
Yeah, you got an Audi looking like that it wants to just go for the speed, and you now just see that they're starting to find out where they want to be on the track. They're finding their pace out there. This group, there's going to be a group here, there's going to be a group at the front, there's going to be a group in the middle. That is the nature of the GTOs, and you've got to feel for Arnold Koch because he is trying to keep up here, and it just feels like he's just tagging along oh so close, but he's just now starting to struggle. I think he may have overheated those tires just with some of this driving.
Speaking of which, here comes Joran van Hicks then in the number 5 car, looking to make a pass here down the inside of Andreas Schuster, and that will put him in second. Schuster trying to get narrow to the curb on the inside and really attack off for the exit to give himself what he wants, but after a horrible opening 5 minutes from Theo Schleray back there in 4th place, he's starting to find that rhythm once more. On the brakes they go, but immediately they are 3 seconds off the race lead, and Valentius on that last lap 4/10 quicker than Joran van Hicks.
4/10 quicker that lap, and I think he was 4/10 quicker the lap before, and it doesn't sound a lot, but it just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling. And if he's got no one to battle him, what can he do? How was Ibero Ruiz? You just see the splatter of the debris coming up from the field. You are trying to just find your way through. He's trying to keep onto the back of Diego Mastretta, to looking like he may get it. Why goes Mastretta? 2 different options to take that corner. Do you go late apex? Do you hug the apex and almost double it? It just goes to show that any way is possible around that corner, and I don't know who got the better of it.
Well, no circuit now will ever be perfect with debris refresh. This is Christer Johansson right now, and he goes up over the curve onto 2 wheels and slides it about, and will find himself then a little bit exposed with what he's trying to deal with out there on circuit, and will not be best pleased moving forward with that. Timothy Reed, no relation to Jacob. He's from Club Atlantic over on the east coast of the United States. He finds himself in a position where he wants to battle, and they're starting to hit traffic, and a big stop at the Sakakorkos corner as Henning Schwebig now looks to go through, and there's the contact. Schwebig takes a huge chunk out of the back of Luis Carlos Perez, who does not know where to go.
Didn't know where to go, and I don't even think Henning knew where he wanted to go. And oh my word, what's on? earth is happening? Mateo Johnson now getting caught out. Some of these drivers are not used to this speed difference on the braking for this chicane. We talked about it. The chicane is going to be a big deal today, and it has already claimed 3 separate incidents out there.
Just like that, drivers trying to do their best to stay out of the way. This is a case of you've got to keep the pace up or you're going to get run over style of race, and Hamilton Barrera is certainly trying to continue battling even through that, down the inside of Mastretta into the final corners, and at 16 he gets the pass done and will get it secured here heading through at turn 17. The group in front of them though is the likes of course of Brandon White, who's in there, Krista Johansson has been there, and you've got of course Logan Edwards and Timothy Reed in front that they're trying to chase, and each and every way they're trying to find a way by. This is getting very dicey. Watch around Raul Roches, for example, and Arto Ihamaki. That looks like it's quite interesting for the top 5 because they've got a huge pack right now.
Yeah, they talked about it. 3 different packs in the GTOs, and here it is. Welcome to the traffic jam. And you got here trying to find a place. You're on board there with the Pisto. He's just seen this. He's waiting for the opportunity. And to be fair, if he wants to just hold back, he might get an opportunity. He saw the twitch there from Guardia, seeing if he can make that move, going unable to. But all of a sudden, the chicane comes up so quick. They come to such a halt. He has to just get on the brakes hard, and that's really good. You've got 2 cars between the Pisto and Guardia, and that allows Seamus Power behind NT right now to try and look for a move.
Yeah, so this is where it gets important. We look behind from Antti Lepisto's perspective. It is a junkyard behind him at the moment because you've got Youngblood and Power there. And it's Seamus Power who's trying to find every which way to get on through. The likes of Jamie Hamill-Smith holding on his battle only for the moment because here comes Fabian Youngblood moving over to the inside in car number 9, getting the pass done on Jamie Hamill-Smith, but he overcooks it through the corner. Middle of the corner, not much he can do. This is where you get the aero coming through and you can fight to the outside as Timothy Reed indicates and goes 3 wide over the line. Why not?
Casual 3 wide, why not? Which is usual for IMSA Vintage. He's going to try and take that inside line on Hamill-Smith, and on board above you see, he makes it stick. And I did see a driver just losing it in the background.
Great trick.
It was great trick. I don't think he caught anybody, but one driver did get catch up. Yeah, he got hit by one driver. Logan Edwards, he collected.
Well, Krajcik was already going around, and I think Edwards had nowhere to go. I think that was the problem out there. So as he goes through, he got to keep a very big eye on how this all goes. Ilkka Kotisalo finding himself in that 12th place, and this is where you are starting now to find a bit of drama in the early goings. This has now opened up the field. It's now 2.5, now almost 3-second gap at the front for Jacob Reed, but you are just expecting this to be very, very dicey, and you can see here from Kotisalo just how much he has to keep the pace up, try and stay away from everyone, and they will jump up onto some various drivers like Valentarius, for example, who might be someone who is that they do not want to go and find because they've got that entire group behind them. Here's Antonio Alvarez right now. We've got a mock-up Jaguar going out there right now against what I believe is a mock-up Nissan.
Yeah, but you see he's trying to take the photo shot. Out there is Matthew Cockerham, and he gets it picture perfect around the outside and holds off Alvarez, and he makes a really good move. Alvarez now on the defense to Riccardi, and that's going to be tough because he get the run. He hasn't got the power. The slipstream will go home to David right here, but he's going to have to try and take this around the outside. He won't. He will wait. Real good patience there, and wide goes Alvarez. That may allow some move, but they have to just check up. If you go too far on the right there, Jake, you will get a slowdown, and the GTO win last time out here was decided by a slowdown around that corner.
Yeah, remember, if you do not serve your slowdown penalty by the time you reach the checkered flag, it is an automatic 40-second time penalty that is added on to the end of your race. So you cannot afford on the final lap to run too wide out of turn 17 because it hurts. With Riccardi at the moment, seeing Alvarez and Matthew Cockerham just in front, they will make their way in towards turn 8. And now is where they really have to start thinking about what's going on, because you've got Sam Skogo against the likes there of Norman Paulik, and they're allowed to battle, and Seamus Power going the long way around here, trying to get this move sorted. Antti Lepisto holds the outside once, holds the outside twice, runs a little deep, outside for the second time for Shameless Power, and it's a drag race now to the inside of 16.
Anything you can do, I can do just as well as you, said Seamus and Antti. And now they're just going to keep on fighting. Is there going to be late braking here from the number 3? There isn't, but he forces Seamus to take a wide and late apex into this corner. Fantastic racing, using the downforce to their abilities, and they keep on fighting. You wouldn't even know this was a battle for 7. Battles in battles in battles, as they like to say when it comes to IMSA Vintage. And Seamus finally gets it stuck. He is a former second place in the championship here once, and you've just got the feel he's just trying to find that magic once again.
Well, very much battling here in the IMSA Vintage Series is like a cake. It's got layers, and it's got lots of them, and that's a mistake there by Power going through at turn 6. That opens the door up through 7 and into turn 8, which Lepisto does not take, but behind that, Takota Salo, his compatriot here. Look at how busy it starts to get with Logan Edwards, with Andreas Schuster they've just managed to get by at this point, and then Diego Mastretta, who has found himself then on that, and he goes all the way around the outside. He's going to go miles off the circuit. It's Mastretta. He's going to lose one position, but will Logan Edwards decide to attack down the hill? He will, and he'll steal the position away into the Sakakokos.
Yeah, Diego, as you just see, this is where the long lap penalty is not the corner you tried to take it, and a mistake then from Mastretta. Think he can go around the outside, a little bit of camera, a little bit of height elevation there, just caught him off, and now he's having to fight Logan Edwards with that mistake, and don't be afraid. Esteban Montero's right behind them as well, but on board we go. You keep looking around, and every time you look, more battles happening. GTO, Sam Skogard, is well trying to keep his battling going out there, and he is now clear. They're a little bit free of some of this traffic. The GTOs can breathe for a moment, Jake, but a couple laps time, I think it'll be all chaos once again.
Well, all chaos is what we are seeing at this stage, and Sam Skogo at the moment here looking at Torben Paulik at these positions, realizing just how incredible the racing is, with Emilio Dicciari just behind him as well, who's gained 6 places over the race. We've had 4 retirements so far in this one, being Shedi Ahmad, Javier Del Olmo, Noel Lundberg, and Henning Schwebig. Those drivers there. Arto Ihamaki, though, looking around behind him and in front of him and each and every way right now, because Togo Hasada has been struggling to keep the pace up at this moment in time. He's got work to do to try and keep himself into position here as he runs in the West Racing colours, knowing that Raul Roses is there just behind, who also wants to put himself through into a position where 4th place would be a very lovely thing to have here as we're heading very close towards the halfway stage of the race.
It is mind-blowing to think we're not close to halfway and almost there, though. But you think about this, Hasada Imaki, is this a 79 race or is this an IMSA Vintage race? These guys have races against one another in different series. They're used to each other's driving, but you've just got to feel this track for some reason is not working for Hasada, not working for Logan Edwards out there today. Another mistake there at the opening of the track.
Yeah, that's at the chicane, and that can very easily be the trouble point, but there is Jacob Reed at a 5.5 second advantage at the front of this field, scaring off to the outside of the circuit, Brandon White, as he will deal with Krista Johansson in the future. So you've got Jacob Reed there, absolutely dominant at the front, and this is pretty much what we saw at the season opener. Jacob Reed and Valenteus, who are out there getting a brilliant run over the course of the racing, winning their races, and they're both on course to go back-to-back.
Yeah, but never say never. Jack Wells was battling Jacob Reed last time out, and a mistake from Wells unfortunately cost him the win. And 5 seconds between Reed and Grau, never say never. The traffic could hold him up. He could have issues. Valenteus, though, I'm pretty sure he's going to be okay out there, knock on wood. He has kept that cool, calm, and collective out there today. He's not really having too much of an issue. The question now is, we know the man likes to flip-flop between the car classes. Has he decided to pick a car class to do a back-to-back in different classes?
Well, it would go another stage closer to him getting what is the Triple Crown, so to speak, and Kurt Hau Jensen getting a little close with Arnold Cook, hoping that those positions continue to be scrapped for, and in towards the opening corner. There's the pickpocket down the inside from Jacob Reed, sweeping around at turn 2, making sure that he stays out of trouble. But here goes Cook again, searching at turn 3 and unable to really make a huge deal of it. And this is what you want if you are leading category traffic out there at the moment compared to secondary category traffic. You want the ease of ability to just dice through cars one at a time. This is exactly what drivers like Jacob Reed are hoping for at the moment as we go on board with Cook, moving through towards the Saka Concourse.
Now, the Audis aren't really a fan of momentum tracks, but with the way that Cook is taking some of these corners, he's trying to find holes that does not help, and a mistake from Farron Grau up ahead. Hello, he's just going to spray a lot of debris on the track for these guys. A little bit of a slipstream there is going to, a slick stream there is going to help, but Cook, unfortunately, he's looking for holes that aren't there, and it's not the type of section that you want to be looking for those gaps. That is costing him at the moment, and now it's going to be costing him some more as he almost gets to the back of Jensen there, as Jack Wells takes a slowdown for going a little bit too ambitious.
Yeah, that was pretty brave from Jack Wells, and he can't afford to do too much of that because he's already lost about 5 seconds here to Ferran Grau, and he'll only lose more here with Togo Hesada, who's looking to try and jump on with him, and Arte Himaki and Raul Roses Guardia, for example, who is there on the back too. So they're all looking to dive in, and that's so interesting there by Arte Himaki, deciding I'm going to just duck in for a half a second, get a little bit of toe, and fly on in through the corner, try and steal as much as I can of an advantage, and it only continues here onto this front stretch. This is playing chess at over 270 kilometers an hour, and unlike Magnus Carlsen, they can do it in jeans if they want to.
You know what? I don't want to do it in jeans. I'm going to be wearing it in shorts, and that's what a lot of these drivers are doing in the heat out there today, and that's totally fine as well, unlike in the championship. Now they're just going to keep on fighting and find gaps as they can, and this is also important that all three of them get past Jamie Hamill-Smith. They keep fighting. Roman Bello's going to be the next GTO up in the field, and they catch him so quickly, it's going to make you wonder how many of these three cars are going to get by. Guardian may get hold up here. That's going to be big time, because now as they come down to the chicane very shortly, this gives Arto a good chance to make a late lunge on Hesada.
Well, if he wants this, he's going to need the power, and now he picks it up through the middle of the corner as he now thinks about it. Which way am I going to go? Am I going to lunge for the inside this time? And there's traffic as they enter the circuit then at turn 12 and realise that Fabian Youngblood may have just spared the blushes of Togo Hesada this time through that corner, but there's searches again. How late does Arto want to go through each and every single corner? This is where Togo Hesada, he's looking around going, I can't shake him, boss, I can't shake him.
Yeah, but Hesada's used to this. Hesada's used to having the fight. He's used to having been chased as well. And maybe he gets a look, and you see Arto just looking around, trying to see, is there an opportunity? Where can I go? They've both got to try to do this around the outside. And Himaki loses a little bit of traction there. That's going to cost him. There was no chance for a move to be on here. But right behind us, we go on the 007 camera. The name's Himaki. Arto Himaki. Guardia's right behind now after all this dicing.
Well, the question is, who's got a golden eye to thread their way through the traffic here? Because you sit down, you look at Ikamaki, he's going to look behind. That's a little search by Raul Rosset, who hopes that he's got himself the chance to move on forward. And he's in the worst position of the three of them, because he sits, he looks at these two, realising they're costing each other time, and he can't do anything about it.
He waits, and I tell you what, tick follows tock follows tick. And he's just waiting for that opportunity, one mistake. But every time he looks for that mistake, he gets held up by another car, and he's having to go around the outside of Ian Haycock, losing some time to that. Because at the same time, while that was happening, Hesada made a mistake coming out of turn 9. Is it the chance of Himaki to make a move? It's going to have to be late on the brake, but that chicane is so tight, Jake. There's nowhere for him to go.
Well, he backed out of it there. He showed his nose to the inside. He just couldn't carry the speed. And Togo Hesada is someone who, that when he decides he wants to go out there and push for it, he can be perfect on the brakes. He's one of the latest brakers out there. Cratering, oh, Martin Cratering finding himself in a bit of a sticky situation at the moment as he battles Kurt Hau Jensen. And there's the turn over the quarter panel. Kurt Hau Jensen not happy over the radio. Krejcik gets himself into the grass and now has to find his way back on through the escape road and back onto circuit there. And I believe in some forms of the track, that's a bit of a pit run. But here comes Raul Rosses over at turn 1 on Ihamaki, but he's got no drive through the mid part of the corner and the hold by the Finn.
Hold by the Finn after a mistake. He got blocked in from a GTO coming out the exit of the final corner, and he lost time on Husada. He's had to try and gain it back, and just as he gains it back, Jack David Smickett says, sorry, I'm here, and he's going to have to do it all again. 2 GTOs up ahead that aren't battling. This is going to hold up Husada once again. The ebbs and flow of multi-class driving is starting to come into effect, and after one corner it affects one driver, the next corner it affects another driver, and once again, Gardia misses out, but again, Husada pulls ahead enough.
Trouble behind, it's Martin Enrique Rivera who's been turned around by Seamus Power out there on track. So the lap traffic proving big, because you've got to remember here, in terms of this, there is still Seamus Power trying to find a way through. We'll take a look at Martin Krejcik first and foremost as he was going through. It has allowed Antti Lepisto through, by the way, but this is a case of you're battling for the same piece of real estate. And there's no other way of describing it. Martin Krejcik just pinches too much.
Yeah, I think Krejcik might be in the fog of Krakow Airport right now. He could not see what was there, and unfortunately that is not helping him. This is no fog right here. This is straight out a landing with all the speed. Can Himamaki get this around the inside once again? No, the outside is working really good. There could be a free wide if we're not too careful though, Jake. Is there going to be a move here? They are going to go free wide into turn 1 and around the outside. Husada defends.
He just dove in deep and did what he needed to at that moment in time. He knew that he could allow himself that ability to attack, but there's still traffic, like, for example, Valentarius, for example, who leads this race. Did we forget about him out there leading this race by 5.5 seconds? I think we might have done, as the flying the run of Husada and Ihamaki continues on. Raul Rosses trying to hold on, and he's got Antti Lepisto, who's also going wait for me, along with Seamus Power. These 5 for 4th position, because they know they're about 2 to 3 seconds behind Jack Wells, knowing that Ferran Grau is 3 seconds further than that, and it's almost 10. Jacob Reed at the front, who is dominating proceedings at the moment. So this has been a wonderful bit of driving that we've got out there at the moment, and I'm sure we're about to see more and more of it as they dive on through to turn 12 again. And here is the replay of Matthew Cockerham.
Yeah, here comes Cockerham. He's going to go a bit too hot into that corner. There's a gap there. No, there isn't. It's closing up, and again, this chicane, we keep talking about it, Jay, it has really caught people off. It's not a bus stop chicane. It's not a spa chicane. It is just a straight, hard left, and drivers are still getting caught out with it, even though fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And Husada decides this time, you're not going to get by.
It's not a bus stop, it's the full depot that they've got to try and navigate through 12 to 15. And you can see the dancing about on the straight, trying to get distractive now into the mirrors and going through the sim racer's hand guide of how to make an overtake. And one of the first pages you turn to that we see so many times, Craig, is get big in the mirrors.
Get big in the mirrors, start to make an issue. We know Husada drives with almost a motion rig. He's got the whole harness on. He's going to be really experiencing the feel and the effects right now. He'll keep looking up. The last thing you want to do, though, if you're the lead car, is to mirror watch. Wide goes Otto, and he just continues on. But I'm looking at the track map. They're going to have 2, maybe 3 laps of no GTOs. This is going to be a pipe dream for Himamaki. He might finally get that ability to find a way around Husada, but first, navigate the chicane.
Well, if he's going to try and do that, he's going to have to try and go for it again. He's just not able to attack it immediately, and I wonder if he should try and prioritize slightly differently here. Maybe he wants to attack a little bit later on through these corners, really prioritize that exit, and if he can manage that, he can go out there and launch, and you can see how much he struggles onto the power. And this is a car that doesn't have all of the in-car tricks and tools of the trade, so to speak here, Craig. This is old school racing. You've got to rely on how good you are at feathering the right foot.
You got to rely on that as well as sit on this ground effect downforce. And it makes me wonder if he's just taking turn 14 wrong to set himself up for 15. Almost take it a bit wider than you want to. And now a car's going to get in the way. He's going to try and get in. And Brandon White realizes, well, I think he actually had a lock up there. He realized he was not going to be in that fight. These three cars battling for 4th, 5th, and 6th are still there. But keep your eyes out right behind. The Pisto is trying to catch on to these two. He is trying with all his might, but it is oh so tight, just like the gaps here are oh so close.
Well, keep an eye out on 2nd and 3rd, which is now just closed up to 1 second right now, because Ferran Grau will deal with a charging Jack Wells late on in this one, and that's Antonio Alvarez going for a big off in the mock-up Jaguar.
Yeah, I think he just went for a cut too much out there today as he just continues on, but still a good fight for him out there today. Driver's really taking move. Insada's gone around. We've got to get back. Insada has lost it trying to go around the outside of a GTO, and unfortunately there was no room there, and Himamaki will take that 4th position.
Well, this is the issue you've got when you've got GTOs trying to stay out of the way, expecting the cars to come to the inside doesn't hold its line. And for Krista Johansson, it's going to be a tough learning curve, because for someone like Togo Hisada, who has driven a wonderful defensive race, he just catches the lap traffic slightly wrong. And, well, he is pretty much a case of, my race is done and dusted and there's not much I can do. We'll take a look from Krista Johansson's perspective here. So he's holding on to the outside curb. He takes the natural line in, and then he just goes out wide, expecting the car to go to the inside. And I think he just panicked because he was looking the black box relative rather than the mirrors.
Yeah, what they like to say at the start of the races here is GTOs hold your line, and that is the clear-cut way of how you drive on the Sporting Car as well. Hold your line, let the faster cars get around you safely, and you can get that little bit of panic sometimes, especially when you see that black box and you see you've got 4 cars all battling for 1 position, and it just looks like just a moment caught him out there, and that is so unfortunate for both drivers.
It very much is right now, and it does promote Antti Lepisto now up into 6th position overall. Want to take this time with about 10 minutes to go to give a little bit of love to some of the drivers who we haven't really seen out on screen. Josh Brain and Doug Cloud are 2 that I really want to give a lot of props to out there at the moment, because they're running 6th and 7th in this race, and they've kept so quiet and they have done so well.
They've done so well as well. And you look at some of the big gainers as well today. Hamilton Barrera Ruiz, yes, he didn't qualify. He's up 12 positions. Roman Bello, yes, he didn't qualify. He's up 12 positions as well. You look at Josh Brain there just for a quick moment, up 1 position. He's had a quiet race, but you've got to realize that in this GTO field, qualifying was oh so important after the chaos on the first couple of laps. To still be there in 6th is really good there for Bello, for Josh Brain and all those drivers. And you've got to feel that some of these battles aren't over yet in the GTOs.
Oh, but without a doubt, it's not over. For example, let's go to 3rd and 4th, because Andreas Schuster is someone who is going to have to be on his best behaviour in the number 8 car, because Theos Leray wants in. But before that, Raul Rosses is now on an absolute charge. He's thinking about, how do I get through against Arto Ihamaki? And Ihamaki here, after spending so long, so to speak here, Craig, keeping himself right up at the front of this field, trying to attack, now finds out he's got to do the other part of this race, defend.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut in there and say he does not. I'm not sure where the damage is, but Guardia has the mechanical flag. He has that meatball flag.
Would that be with Hisada when Hisada came back across the circuit?
It's got to be. It's got to be. I just see no damage there whatsoever, but you can see the timing towers. No laps are being recorded, and I do check the box, and Barney had given him that mechanical meatball flag. And unfortunately, he's going to have to serve it sometime sooner or later, and that will mean the Pisto will get up to the 5th, and that could be a battle between the 2 Scandinavians.
Well, I'm just trying to have a little look here, and it doesn't look very obvious then from an external perspective on what's gone wrong with him, as Martin Krajcik now continues on his race, and now he'll battle it out with Arnold Cook fourth position, which would be for 16th in class, but it's a huge disaster for Raul Rosses then, as he does have that black and orange mechanical flag. There's nothing that he can do about it, and he will have to dive into the pits, and those are the breaks that you get in a race like this. And in fact, Raul is going to go in right now. A real shame for him, as he now has to travel at just 55 to 60 kilometers an hour along the pit straight.
I'll tell you who else has just had a moment as well. Ferran Grau has lost P2. You can see it in the timing tower. He got caught by a backmarker GTO coming out of turn 1. He has lost P2. He's been able to keep on to P3, but all of a sudden, he's looking behind as well.
I've just had a look at it myself. It's so clumsy. And for Ferran Grau, a race of such promise in second. And it's the lap traffic that has turned him around and has cost him that P2. And it's moments like this that you talk about at the back end of the season. How did it go against the lap traffic? It was one of the very, very back markers, Luis Carlos Perez, who just turns into him there, taking the natural line, just almost as if Ferran Grau doesn't exist.
It's almost like he hasn't even got the spotter call to say that there's a car left. And we go from one moment where a driver was probably looking too much at the relative to get out of the way, to a moment where a driver probably wasn't looking at the relative and got in the way. It's just the way multi-class work. It is so unfortunate for all the drivers involved that something like that happens. And I just got to say, Guardia is still in the pit. I don't know what the damage is, but it looks a lot with 6 minutes to go. That looks like his race is definitely over.
Well, there is your race leader and your class leader as well. Jacob Reed in the number 2 car. He's had no troubles out there in the green and yellow. The Worcesterman is out to a 14-second lead, a former iRacing pro Stripe when it has come to the Turn Racing Grand Prix iRacing series back in the day, which has morphed into the IndyCar series now on iRacing. And Jacob Reed is proving why he is a pro amongst pros. He is certainly flying, and that driver is just laughing right now, Audrius Valenteus. I think that he has to be declared as the gold standard out there in terms of racing, because simply put, he's first all the time.
He's first all the time. I'll tell you what, Jake, when we always ask the question, who can beat Valenteus? Jacob Reed, Jack Weld. They are the two drivers, and Jacob Reed has come oh so close in the last seasons or so. Quick look on the replay here. Lance Simon just coming around some of these corners. Is there going to be a moment here? Gets hot. It looks like he just loses control. Is that a misshift, or is that just a loss of power?
I think that's Lance Simon just struggling through the corner, and Ferran Grau just ran him up the back. There's not much more that can be said except that. And Ferran there at that section of track, I think it's just a case of that's how quick he was going. Lance Simon through the middle of the corner had, of course, the lap track in front. He was heavy over the curb and then wanted to try and stay out of the way, because remember, he was lap traffic to Ferran Grau, and ultimately he gets run over for it.
So unfortunate. It's gone from bad to worse to Ferran Grau.
Well, that's a black flag penalty.
And that's a black flag penalty as well. We haven't seen that a lot, but you've got to feel we've got all this runoff here because of the motorbikes and the MotoGP around here. You've got to feel that a lot of the drivers are taking a bit too many liberties out here. The battle's still not over for Ferran Grau, though. He will start fighting this against the Pisto. He still has a lot of pride. He probably can't get that P3, but if he holds on to a P4, that's still going to be an impressive recovery.
So one incident for Ferran Grau cost him second, the other one's cost him third. He's managed to battle back for that fourth place, and he will be driving angry. And I tell you what, out of here, he will not stop when the checkered flag goes here, Craig. He'll be straight out to the Plaza del Toro. He is the Raging Bull.
Well, let's just hope he doesn't go full speed into the barriers. Let's just make sure he just gets off the track and just gives himself a moment. Still racing happening with 4 minutes left in the race. This is Emilio De Chari, and all of a sudden in front, Sam Skogard gets caught out. And there goes another one. I think that was Mastretta just getting a little bit too close to him.
It's a no-go for Skogo, and that puts him way down. You can see the rear absolutely buckled and bent and that is not what was wanted out there in terms of his race. It does promote more. Now, Torben Paulik here is looking at Ian Haycock. And one thing we know from Ian Haycock is that he had himself a motorcycle accident, I think it was a couple years ago, which took away the use of one of his extremity limbs. And so what we've known from Ian Haycock and the way he races is that this is about the limit of what he can race, about 40 minutes. Anything more than that, and the strain is too much. So he's a driver who might fade late.
He might fade late, and if you've ever seen his setup, you've ever seen him driving, it is a joy to watch. To just show that anybody can sim race with any way. As you see another car, please no, and this is just getting a bit too much. Chicane claims another driver. Just a little bit of patience here. I think patience is wearing thin on some of these drivers.
That was Esteban Monteros who was throwing himself in with Diego Mastretta. Here's Roman Bello, who we're going to take a look at here, because this is what he had to do to avoid Sam Skogo. And he just about was very happy at the fact there was a million acres of runoff.
Oh, I'll tell you what, we were just talking about that runoff because of the fact it's a motorbike track. It's an FIS type track. I think on FIM, sorry, that's the skiing. We're not going skiing out here today. We're going motor racing with Torben Paulik and Ian Haycock for the final 2 minutes. It just goes to show, though, that runoff very handy for some of these drivers. That has helped them on the opening part of this track. But everything we've seen today, Jake, has been down at that chicane.
Has something happened to Arturi Hamaki? He's just lost third place.
I don't think he has. I don't think anything has happened there, but we're going to have to look. Wouldn't be surprised if he just got caught up in traffic. He got caught up in traffic out there, Jake. Just a little bit of getting caught out by a slow car.
Yeah, and so for that, Ferran Grau is back in the podium position, and he'll be very happy about it. Ihamaki caught napping here with the traffic, and not much that he can do about it. That is brilliant recovery stuff from Ferran Grau, and this is a recovery what titles are made of if he does see Jacob Reed mess up at certain points. I'll tell you one driver who's going to feel like today's been a good job, even though we've hardly seen anything of him. Joram van Hicks, 11 seconds off the lead, but what he needs to do to get second is there. We'll take another look. This might be the... Oh, he had to get well out of it.
Yeah, he got well out of it. I think he did collide to the rear of that car. Again, I'm not sure if that's the car having a mistake or just the car trying to get out the way. We don't know the full story in that battle. I'll tell you what, these two have been battling. We saw them in the background on the start-finish line. Seamus Power and Antti Letizia, they're still fighting. They're going to have another lap after this, thanks to Jacob Reed still being quick. They can still have some fight. Yeah, Mackey's just a second ahead of them. This could be a three-car battle for P4.
It very much could. In fact, it's a four-car battle for the podium if you want to be really technical about it at this stage. And Seamus Power with a huge power move to the inside to avoid Arnold Cook in the tic-tac car. And at the moment, I think you're going to need a bit more tic-tac tactics if you want to try and find that pass, like diving for the inside. Oh, no way! Kraystrick, nowhere to go. Seamus Power puts the power slide on to avoid contact.
I'm surprised he didn't get a slowdown there. I thought he went all four wheels off the track. He didn't. He kept it alive. He kept it driving. He's okay. That's a little bit risky. Jacob Reed is going to come across shortly. He is on the final lap. He's just halfway through the final lap, and what dominance it has been out there for him today. He's a former pro driver in iRacing for a reason, Jake. You've seen it many times before. The question used to be who can stop Valenteus. The question is going to be soon, who can stop Jacob Reed?
He is a two-time iRacing Grand Prix Tour champion. It's the only series in iRacing where you have to run it all year round. He is someone who is the best of the best as he dices through Ian Haycock, Davide Riccardi, and now looks at Torben Paulik. He just threads the needle and dives his way on through, knowing as he crests the rise here at turn 13, down the hill at 14 and 15. This is the one chance on the circuit he will have to breathe, and this will be just as easy as breathing for someone like him, someone of his caliber, someone who can say that he is of the elites, the echelons of iRacing. He is a 1%er out there, and he might be a one of one here today. You don't often win in the IMSA Vintage Series by 20 seconds, but Jacob Reed has made mincemeat of the rest of the field. Dominant as ever. Dominant as ever.
And I'll tell you what, we talked about Valenteus in the 9K club. You could see Jacob Reed this year hit the 9K club as well. Jack Wells, it's all festive for him out there today. He tried his best, and his best was not good enough. His fastest lap was 0.2 slower than Jacob Reed just did. He will record a very well done P2 and coming to the line. I don't think there's anything here for Arno. Baron Grau with the recovery he needed to get back in that podium after it looked like he was going out of the top 5.
It looked like it was going to be done and dusted, but for something that looks just as equally as delightful out there for a driver who does not know the word second place. They've torn it out of all of his dictionaries, his thesauruses, and any encyclopedia he can find. He has been victory, victory, and victory. It's all he does. And you know what? Why not drift it through 16 and 17 to showcase just how dominant you are? Adrius Valenteus is simply put the gold standard of racing.
How do you stop him? Only man to try and stop him, Jacob Reed, even he couldn't stop him. Johan van Hicks is going to finish 9 seconds behind. It would have been 13, 14 seconds had Valenteus decided to start and do the drifting. Andreas Schuster with a very good P3 to kickstart his run for another championship. And Theo Chalet, he's going to finish in 4th, but Doug Cloud will get one final hurrah. Can he get past Josh Brain at the line? He's not going to be able to.
No, he's just going to be a shade short there, but we'll get classified results then from what was an all-important race here from Motorland Aragon, and a race which you could say in GTP is looking like the Jacob Reed show and friends out there. His margin of victory, of course, through 40 minutes and 59 seconds worth of racing was a full 20 seconds by the end of the race as he picks it up over Jack Wells. Ferran Grau would have 2 bits of contact with lap traffic over the course of the race, which was the overarching story of this one here at a very tumultuous Aragon. He had finished 3rd ahead of Arto Ihamaki, with Antti Lepisto in 5th, staving off the challenger Seamus Power, as Hamilton Barrera Ruiz would go from 20th all the way to 7th. Timothy Reed would finish off in 8th ahead of Esteban Monteros plus 10, and it was Ilka Cotasalo who would round out the top 10 of the field with just 11 drivers finishing on the leading lap. That last driver was Logan Edwards, just 2/10 short of Cotasalo by the time they found the line, and the first of those lap down was the 40 car of Matteo Johnson. You then had Davide Riccardi, Diego Mastretta, Matthew Cockram, Lance Simon, and Kelton Armstrong, your last finisher in GTP, with Raul Roses Guardia there 3 laps down and out of the race, with Togo Hesada 4 laps down, Antonio Alvarez finding himself in troubles, as well as Cody Massey and Henning Schwebig making up your GTP field. Dominance was again on display though, Craig, when it came to GTOs.
Yeah, but you wouldn't afford it when he started in P3 to start the race, but Valenteus takes the victory over everybody by 10 seconds over Johan van Hicks. And there's Andreas Schuster in at P3, and Theo Shirley, who started on pole, did not get the best start. He will be in 4th with Jack David Spickett in 5th. Josh Brain will be 6th with Doug Cloud making up 2 places to 7th. Ian Haycox will be 8th with Forban Pollock in 9th. Emilio Dicciari will take 10th. And then what's interesting, the big mover was Roman Bello. Plus 12 for the day in 11th there, with Fabian Jumblov in 12th and Jamie Hamill-Smith in 13th. Kurt Hau Jensen will take 14th with Martin Krejcik in 15th, and Arnold Koch will be in 16th with Evan Pasquini 17th. Christian Johansson will be plus 6 at 18th. Brandon White 19th. Luis Carlos Paris Dunek will be 20th. When we get to the final page of drivers, some of these guys did not finish the race. Martin Enrique Revert will be 21st. Sam Skogod will be 3 laps down in 22nd. And the 3 retirees on the first 2 laps, Noah Lundberg, Javier Del Olmo, and Shady Ahmad.
Well, that just goes to show you how much difficulty they had here at Aragon, which on paper, people would expect this to be an easier circuit out there than what some others will have found. We do have a couple drivers here who are looking for a tiny bit of a run through Conversation Street at this moment in time. And where else to start than the driver who finished second overall in GTP, that driver being Jack Wells, who joins us right now. And Jack, a P2 for you today, which will essentially be as a stamp note of started second, finished second. Not much really happened in the race, but I don't think that tells a story. It's a very difficult Motorland Aragon.
No, yeah, 1, 2, 3 all started where we finished, so not much in between. But yeah, no, it was eventful. There was lots of traffic every lap. I mean, we barely got a clear lap once we caught the lapped Audis and Nissans the first time. So very eventful.
A very eventful race then for you. So you lost the race lead through the second position through the opening corner. You had a lot of work to do to go and gather that back up. But talk us through just dancing through and the difference between, say, last season or the last time we were here at Aragon, running without that long bus depot of a chicane that we've got, compared to using that now and that flow effectively being cut as you go through 12 through 15.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I definitely preferred the other layout, but yeah, it was a really tricky spot to lap and to race behind people. You don't know if it's safe to dive in or be side by side with people through there. So really tricky section of the track.
Well, for you, it's a case of picking up some all-important points. We know how important the points pickup is going to be over the course of this season, but you go from one Spanish track to another Spanish track, from Aragon to the Circuito de Navarra, the speed circuit out there. How do you feel about that in 7 days' time, knowing that you've got one of the newer circuits out there on the iRacing service to tackle next?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that race. I hope we see lots of new faces and stuff. I know it's a free circuit on the service, so I hope to see lots of new faces. Yeah, and a new challenge for the series to go there as well, so it should be interesting.
Jack Wells there joining us, a second place finish overall here today, and someone who should be incredibly happy with the achievements that they found. Craig King has wandered down the paddock, and I believe you found the Frenchman Theo Schleret, who has found himself alongside you now.
Yeah, beside me is Theo Schleret, and it started also good with qualifying pole position, Theo, and then unfortunately it did not go well for you at the start. Talk us through what happened on that first lap.
Well, basically, I just bought the track yesterday, so I didn't have enough time to practice for the race. So what happened is that I wasn't used to the car behavior, and on top of that, I had the brake bias a slightly bit too much at the front, which is why I locked up that much. But then I found my marks and I started to drive well. So I think that if I started to practice a little bit earlier, I would have hoped for a podium position.
Yeah, it did look out there a little bit rough, but then the comeback was on, getting to the P3, and we're just looking at some of the replays out here today. It looked a bit chaotic out there today if you were in a GTO. How was traffic for you out there?
Well, since I got my triple screens, it's much better, because I can see what others are doing aside to me. But then we're sometimes a bit of a surprise, but thankfully nothing too concerning. So I could focus pretty much on my own driving.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, with an ultra-wide, I haven't got the same vision as you, but I'll tell you what, that is ever so helpful than having one monitor, and I always recommend somebody pick up an ultra-wide or pick up triple in a situation like this. It is so helpful, and as Jake was saying, we're going Spain, and we're going Spain again. Next week's Navarra, are you going to do a little bit more practice because you don't need to buy it, it's a free track?
Well, yes, I will practice earlier because I just went fancy to race today, just yesterday evening. So now that I want to hang around a little more, I will start to practice from tomorrow.
Well, Theo, it is great to see you out there today. I know it's hard to say well done on a fourth. It is commiserations after the start there. But before we let you go, is there any shout-outs you would like to give?
Well, as usual, to any drivers, to all the drivers, because they make the the series lively, and also thanks to the GSRC channel and crew to show a bit what we can have in these lesser popular series. And also, well, once again, to Andreas being as untouchable as always.
Well, one day somebody will touch him. It might be you with the pace you showed on qualifying today. Theo Chalet there, Jake, who finished 4th on the day. To round it out, I think I want to get back in the nice cold commentary booth.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a hot one here at Aragon, but a wonderful, wonderful bit of racing that we have had here today has been brought to you, of course, by us at the Global Sim Racing Channel. It's a case of today, the top 2 in both categories, or in the categories out there, GTO and GTP, both proved that this was going to be a tall order to try and catch them, but those two once again put themselves on the highest pedestal out there. That will bring the curtain, though, to a close. I want to give a massive thanks to the team who has got it done from us here today, from Craig King, of course, from the likes of Daniel and Christian, and, of course, to Dougie Beard as well. You can see all of the amazing shows that makes Global Sim Racing Channel an amazing place to be. You can catch up with what's going on because your triple classics over here, your weekends, are not the same without it, because we've still got tomorrow and we've got Lotus 79 action, which will be coming up right at the end of the year. You do not want to miss that one bit. But in terms of racing and what we've been able to put together here from you, it was Aldrius Valentarius who said that he is in a GTO unstoppable, like he is in a GTP, like he is in a Lotus 49, like he is in anything that he puts his mind to. He is one of the great sim racers of the 2020s. For Jacob Reed, the former pro stripe, 20 seconds is what he ends up with, and a huge smile on his face as his margin increases at the top end. But it's a case of find speed, head to the speed circuit. We'll see you in 1 week's time with your IMSA Vintage series when we head to the Circuito de Navarra.